I've always been interested in speedruns. I love seeing how fast people can complete my favorite games with all their insane glitches and strategies. I've tried running games in the past, but I always lose interest or pick games that are way too long. This time it'll be different though. I'm setting a challenge for myself. Forget the 12 days of Christmas, this is the 12 runs of Christmas. I want to see how far up a game's leaderboard I can make it in just 12 runs. I want them to be complete runs though, so I'm not going to count ones where I reset after just a few minutes or whatever. The game I've chosen is the Polar Express for GameCube, because there's less than 20 runners and the entire thing takes under an hour to beat. The category may be dead, but that doesn't mean the world record is free for the taking. Maybe I can cheese my way to the top. I don't actually believe I can do it, but like the young boy in the movie, I'm willing to try just to see what happens. On the first run of Christmas, Kyle gave to me. For the first run, I just wanted to play through the game naturally. I know this seems like a waste of an attempt, but this was a game I had never played before nor seen gameplay of, so the chances of getting the world record right off the bat are nearly impossible. Instead, I want to use this time to learn the game, get familiar with the controls, and take notes on potential time saves. Like the movie, the game follows the story of the Polar Express and its passengers' journey to the North Pole. The story is primarily told through clips from the movie and cutscenes rendered in-game, which are usually played between minigames and chapters. Speaking of chapters, the game is split into 6 of them, each with around 2 to 3 different parts. But in terms of how the gameplay is broken up, I'd say there's really only about 11 total segments. The first segment is the most in-depth and requires you to collect the passengers' missing train tickets by clearing each of the tasks in the different train cars. The first car has you opening the various jack-in-the-boxes, with a random one containing the ticket. You can only open the box if the NPC child is shining the flashlight on the box, and if you guess incorrectly 3 times, the boy will run away and you have to go back and talk to him. An obvious time-saving opportunity here would be if you could guess the correct box early on. The second train car is more straightforward. Just shoot the soccer ball into the dummies to defeat them, then shoot another ball at the lid to close it. After that, a key will spawn, a key that I struggled to collect. Shooting soccer balls at it didn't work, and Hero Boy doesn't jump high enough to reach it. Eventually I learned you could just jump on the baskets, but do you see why I didn't try to speedrun this game from the very start? The third train car is a food fight. Puppets pop up behind the seats and you have to pick up the food and throw it at them to defeat them. They throw food back, so you also have to duck to dodge their attacks. This is important because dying would be an obviously large time loss, but you're also stunned when hit, which will only slow down the process even more. Memorizing the puppet patterns could be another easy time save because you could just pre-throw the food where they're going to spawn to knock them out instantly. About halfway through this ticket collecting segment, we're hit with our first boss fight, the Mighty Scrooge Puppet. It's essentially the same gameplay as the second train car, just shoot the balls at the Scrooge while avoiding the balls he throws back. He throws the balls at you so you can kind of manipulate the general area that they go, but there does seem to be some slight RNG with how they bounce, otherwise it's a pretty straightforward room. The next train car is also simple. You're just playing Pong against a jack-in-the-box. Normally Pong would be a way to express skill, but there didn't seem to be a way to control where the ball will bounce. No matter where I hit it on the plate or how I move my stick, the ball would always move in a seemingly preset path. So that makes me think this minigame is either scripted or RNG, something I'll have to take note of when we watch a real run of the game. The 6th train car is a stealth mission. Sneak to the back of the car to collect the ticket, then sneak back to the front, all without being caught by the chef. The detection seems a little wonky, so I'm sure that there are some easy ways to quickly clear this room. The 7th train car has you catching the mice running rampant, and throw them into the basket. I was quite bad at catching them, and missing punished you with a long recovery time, but this seems like one of the more skilled rooms that can be cleared quickly once you get good at catching them. The 8th train car seems like another RNG room. You use an icebreaker to smash open the ice blocks, each containing a present, with one of the presents containing the ticket. The blocks break into shards, and hitting any ice will cause you to take damage and slow you down. This is similar to the first train car, in that getting the ticket first try would save a lot of time. The 9th train car is a more in-depth version of the 3rd train car. You move freely around and have to collect stuffies to throw back at the jack-in-the-boxes to defeat them. A straightforward concept for a car, but one that I really need to practice to save a lot of time on. For the final train car, we're destroying more jack-in-the-boxes, but in a much more aggressive way. We just have to pick up the hammer and smash each one twice to shatter them. As with most of the previous cars, we'll need clean movement to quickly defeat them, as well as avoid their attacks. After defeating all the jack-in-the-boxes, we're met with our final ticket of the section. Now I know that seems like a lot, but I promise no other section is this in-depth, and I'm sure on a real run, no car will take more than a few minutes. These cars just seem like some of the biggest time-saving opportunities, so I just had to share them with you. After collecting all the tickets, we finally arrive at the next section of the game, hopping on the roof of the train. We have to catch up to the glowing light by jumping and dodging the obstacles zipping past us. There's not much to say about this part as it's pretty straightforward, and the variety of obstacles is in the single-digit numbers. I did suck at dodging these obstacles because I didn't realize they actually modeled the train to dip down on the sides. I'm sure all hitless runs of this segment are around the same length, so I'll just need to focus on dodging all the obstacles while reducing my left and right movement to a minimum. There doesn't seem to be too many time-saving opportunities here. The mysterious light on the top of the train is revealed to be a hobo, who then takes us skiing down the mountain to catch up to the train we just jumped off of. I'm just realizing now how little sense this makes. Why don't we just ski on the train like in the movie? Why do we jump off of it just to jump back on? Anyway, we have free reign to ski down the mountain and dodge the different obstacles, mostly trees with some logs, houses, and shards scattered around. This is a similar yet harder version of the previous segment because a hitless run isn't enough to master this part. You'll also have to have good lines through the obstacles. One larger time save that I noticed was on these crevasse segments. You can get on the upper part and hop across at each turn to cut the corners even tighter than the main path takes you. Once we catch back up to the train we just jumped off of, still makes no sense, we arrive at the conductor's room. The first half of this section has you collecting the required train parts that fall out of the engine. Each engineer needs 5 parts of their color, making 10 total. It didn't seem to prioritize giving me the parts I still needed, so either this mode is complete RNG or the parts fall in a set pattern. It's something I'll have to look for in future runs. And the second half of this segment is just a glorified cutscene. The conductors first give you a set of 4 actions that you must then repeat to the beat of the music. After like 3 minutes of that, we finally move on to the next segment. This segment throws it back to the start of the game, hitting us with more advanced train cars that we have to escort the girl through. It starts with a more challenging version of the 9th car from the start of the game. The premise is the exact same, but with more boxes to jump around and more aggressive puppets. The second train car is a Pokemon ice puzzle, where we have to design the course in a way that the girl can make it to the end of the car. We can push the boxes around to create a path for her to slide from. Some rules to note, though, are that we can't move the stacked boxes, and she can only move forward if there's a box behind her that she can push off of. Memorizing the quickest way to create a path through sounds like one of the more annoying things I'll have to learn, but I'm gonna have to do it. The third train car is just a more advanced version of the mouse catching one from before, this time with more mice, and the final train car of the segment is a more advanced battle against the Scrooge. We have to avoid his shockwaves and pick up the snowballs to throw him at him to open the flap on his chest, exposing his heart. Then, once he raises his hand for a massive attack, throw another snowball at his exposed heart to deal damage. Repeat this 5 times and the evil puppet is history, and we can move on to the next segment. This is just another glorified cutscene. See the action, repeat the action. Next. Now we are the train, barreling through the North Pole town. The path is mostly linear. There's a few alternate paths in the track, but they always lead back to the main path. The real challenge here is tilting the car left and right to avoid the holes in the track and the miniature trains that appear at different points. There's also ice patches on the tracks that speed up the car if you press X while passing over them. The biggest time saves here are the most obvious. Take the shortest deviated paths and avoid every obstacle possible. The next segment is also pretty straightforward, but it seems to have potential for big time losses if you get unlucky. You're in a tube and you have to rotate the vehicle to hit the required switches. The required color shows up on the main screen, and below it are the next 3 colors that you're going to need, so you can kind of plan ahead. You can also speed up and slow down the vehicles with X and A respectively. Going too fast makes it hard to move to the correct switch in time, but slowing down is also a massive time loss, so a good balance will have to be struck if I want to complete all 6 rounds as fast as possible. The next segment takes place in Santa's present workshop. We ride the conveyor belts to reach different switches that change the path of the presents. At first this seemed like it would be a bit of a maze, but I quickly learned that there was usually only one correct way through each of the 3 rooms' puzzles. So this may be an area with little opportunities for time saves. That was until I accidentally glitched out of bounds and fell to my death, forcing me to quit out and restart the entire segment. Obviously you don't want to fall to your death in a real run, but maybe this out of bounds glitch can be used to your advantage. We'll have to test that out. The second to last segment, here we go. This is my element, a 2D side-scrolling platform adventure through Santa's sack. Using the ribbons, platforms, and bouncing pads, we have to make it to the top of the stack while avoiding the bouncing presents that want to hurt us. Wait, we can double jump? How long has this been available? Oh my god. Okay, so apparently we've had a double jump the entire time and I just now learned about it. Too bad it's useless now that we've almost arrived at the final segment. The path through the presents seemed fairly straightforward. There are only a few dead ends, and the biggest time save seemed to be avoiding the presents and jumping at the correct time. But there do seem to be some opportunities to damage boost through the enemies, which may come in handy. The final segment is a mad dash to deliver the presents to the town square. We have 5 minutes to drive the airship through the town, avoiding the pirate ships, hot air balloons, and bridges. You can press X to move the ship faster, but other than that, you'll just need to avoid everything to make it through as fast as possible and beat the game. Whew! And that is the entire Polar Express game for the GameCube. I finished it in just under 2 hours. Not bad for a first playthrough where I wasn't skipping cutscenes or even trying to go fast. But let's see what the world record is currently sitting at. Oh, I've got some work to do. On the second run of Christmas, Kyle gave to me. Hey, now I know I said I was gonna watch a speedrun before doing another attempt, but I couldn't help myself. I wanted to try a blind speedrun using what I've learned from my initial playthrough. Now that we're familiar with the game, maybe a little too familiar, I'm only going to point out noteworthy events from my remaining runs. My second run started off weak. I didn't open up the correct box within 3 tries, so I had to run back and collect the boy after he ran away, wasting a ton of time. I could have restarted without using up one of my runs, but I wanted the first attempt to be a no reset run. I just wanted to get a general idea of how difficult this was really going to be. I also got caught by the chef a few times because I was impatient and just kept trying to run through. In the ice block room, I got my ticket on the 3rd box again, which made me suspicious that it's always on the 3rd present you open. The other train cars didn't go horribly, they were just slow, so I finished the segment just under 10 minutes. My train hopping segment went alright. I only got hit a few times and managed to finish around the 14-minute mark. For the skiing, I applied my crevasse hopping technique wherever I could, but a devastating crash got me stuck on this rock, causing me to lose any time I might have saved, getting me out of there at around the 19-minute mark. The conductor games and most of the second set of train cars weren't very eventful. I did try a new strategy for the ice puzzle, where I cleared out a mostly straight path to the end and had the girl go through it all at once, which I felt worked pretty well. After all that, I was finished with the area's final Scrooge fight at around the 30-minute mark. Hot chocolate and train driving were uneventful. Tube racing was too, but I got very lucky with some of the switch patterns, which allowed me to clear some of these rounds very fast. Present Factory, Santa's Sack, and plane driving also went as smooth as you'd expect a first speedrun to go, which netted me a final time of 58 minutes and 58 seconds, placing me 14th on the leaderboard and 12 minutes behind first place. Honestly, not terrible for my first speedrun attempt and second run overall, but at this point, a training arc is definitely required. It's time to get serious. I started by comparing my first speedrun to the world record, just to see where I was losing time, and right off the bat I noticed that the load times on the emulator that they were using versus my console were different. They were able to start moving almost 3 seconds before I could, which I'm sure adds up over the course of the run, so I might have to consider switching to emulator if things start to get dire. They also got the ticket in the Jack in the Box room after only 2 tries, so I'll definitely have to start resetting until I get lucky. I also learned you could flip the camera behind you with the R button, useful for catching the mice and finding the balls. Their strategy for the chef was to run straight ahead, but aggro him at the last second so that he was still confused by the time they ran back with the ticket. My suspicions about the ticket always being in the 3rd ice block also seemed to come true. The rest of the train cars, the roof running, and the skiing went just about how I thought they would. No glitches or magic tricks, just good movement. At the conductor room, I learned that the pattern of the parts and the rocks is the same for every run, which makes the entire conductor segment a cutscene with really no chance for time gains. During the ice skating segment, it's possible to create an entirely straight path, and to save even more time, they called the girl before the boxes were even finished being put into place, and moved them as she was still skating. I also learned that you can just throw the snowballs from anywhere and they'll reach the Scrooge, so you never have to approach him as closely as I was. Coffee and train driving were straightforward, but during the tube segment I learned that the gates are not randomized, but the required colors are. So not super helpful since it's still a bit random, but at least you can know which gates are coming up next. During the Present Factory, they didn't use any out-of-bound glitches like I had discovered, which was a relief, but I still want to test it out and see if I can get anything to work. Oh, I also learned a slightly faster path through the second area. Santa's Sack was the most interesting, because right off the bat they attempt a damage boost jump off a present. They failed it a few times, even dying, so I was curious to see how much time they actually would save by doing it. I ran both their run and my run side by side and was shocked by the results. Even with all their failed attempts, they catch up to me after completing the skip, which means there is massive time to be saved. They also jump on top of the vines instead of swinging with them, but other than those, there weren't many more skips in this area. They also make it through the final plane segment with just 1 bump, ending with a time of 46 minutes and 14 seconds. It was a good run, no doubt, and maybe I'm just being cocky, but seeing some of their smaller mistakes makes me think this is entirely doable. My biggest time save opportunities are going to be in the train cart segments and Santa's Sack, so I just gotta practice those areas until I'm a master at them. How hard could it be? On the 3rd through 5th run of Christmas, Kyle gave to me. I'll be honest, the next 3 runs weren't all that impressive. Run 3 shaved off about 4 minutes off my personal best, but I struggled to capitalize on many of the strategies I had learned. Run 4 started off amazingly, with some of the best luck I had ever experienced on the first train cars, but some horribly embarrassing mistakes later on in the run would eat up all the time, causing me to only barely set a new PB. Run 5 was solid and on track to set a new PB, but a horrible present section completely killed any momentum I had. It's clear I'm gonna have to put in way more effort if I want any chance of scoring the record, so I scoured the game's speedrun page for more tips. This is when I came across their Discord, a small but helpful community where they were sharing tips and new strats. This is also where I found the speedrun guide written by Jay and Baffy, 2 top runners of the game. They outlined every part of the game, how to consistently perform strategies, and where time saves were possible. They even talked about how to consistently set up seeded runs so your RNG is the same each time you play. The dedication to a game with so few runners was impressive. A wholesome little community had developed, and it just goes to show how much effort goes into even the smallest of runs. It was also around this time that another shocking discovery was made. A new world record had just been set. I was no longer racing in a category that had been abandoned for months. I now have competition, and they're good. If I'm ever going to take this world record, I'm going to have to take this way more seriously, even if it means entering the dark side. On the 6th run of Christmas, Kyle gave to me. The 6th run was my first on an emulator, and while the load times were faster, there was a slight input delay I had to get used to. This was an unfortunate run where I had some massive time saves, but lost those time saves right after due to my own stupidity and nerves. It started off with a very good train car segment, but I would later lose that time right after during skiing to some horrendous lines and too many crashes. Then later on I saved even more time in the harder train cars, namely with a very good ice puzzle. It wasn't perfect, but it was the best I had ever done. However, this time save too would be lost, this time in the tube section, where I was moving too fast and missed a lot of the required gates. The most devastating time loss though was in the present section. After nailing the difficult damage boost jump skip on the very first try, I instantly lose all that time with a terrible cycle and execution of the present lifts. These orange presents move up and down, but are desynced, so you can get good and bad cycles. I got a bad cycle, but I also would get impatient and jump when I wasn't supposed to, losing even more time. The nerves of getting the present skip first try really got to me here. I ended with a respectable 51.58, moving up to 7th on the leaderboard, but man, I really wanted that sub 50-minute run so badly. I've just got to learn to slow down when necessary. Patience is a virtue. On the 7th run of Christmas, Kyle gave to me. For run 7, I forced myself to play without resetting just to see what would happen. And yeah, this shows why I've allowed myself to restart if the beginning goes poorly. After leaving the train cars over a minute behind my PB, I had already given up caring what happened to this run. Time loss after time loss because I simply didn't care. The only saving grace here was that I got a gold split on the tube section because I was patient and slowed down when I needed to. Other than that, this run was just a way for me to test and practice things, like the present skip and how long I could hang over these houses on the left without crashing. On the 8th run of Christmas, Kyle gave to me. Run 8 started off a bit mid, but I wasn't far enough behind to restart, so I pushed forward, and I'm glad I did. I had my best skiing run yet, only crashing twice towards the end. My second set of train cars were also the best they had ever been, with quick executions in each of the rooms. I lost some time in the tubes, getting a bit reckless and unlucky, but I somehow managed to gain a lot of that time back in Santa's present factory. The time saves continued when I got the present skip on the first try again, this time making sure not to get too impatient during the orange present lifts. The airship segment went alright, aside from one nasty blunder at the end, ultimately resulting in a 50.59, shaving another minute off my PB and moving up to 5th on the leaderboard. My sum of best segments finally dipped below 50 minutes too, so the next milestone was within reach. On the 9th run of Christmas, Kyle gave to me. There's not much to say about the beginning of run 9. It was up and down at the start, but things started to get real at the tube section. Luck and skill allowed me to save an entire minute, putting me on pace to finally score a sub 50. In Santa's sack, I failed the present skip a few times, but managed to still get it early on, so I didn't waste a ton of time. I got impatient on one of the dreaded orange present lifts though, so I lost a bit of that time. The chances of getting a sub 50-minute run were slim now. I saved some time during the airship and ended with a 50.26, meaning the 30 seconds I lost in the sack actually mattered. Devastating. On the 10th run of Christmas, Kyle gave to me. Run 10 started off with a lot of promise. I cleared the first train cars and the train hopping segments faster than I ever had before. I lost some time at skiing, but gained it back at the engineer room right after. Normally this section should be nearly impossible to save time on, but a blunder in my PB run allowed me to get it back here. I was very slow in the harder train cars, but once again regained some of that time with the fast Scrooge boss fight. The tubes gave me very good luck, but I played poorly and lost time there anyways. After that, the rest of the run started to fall apart, and a terrible blimp section sealed my fate. Normally I'd only been doing one run a day, but the past 3 runs I had done in a single night. I wanted to see how well I played while warmed up, and not just starting fresh from each run. We can see this worked extremely well at first, but we can also definitely see where the fatigue started to set in. At this point, I've lost all hope for the world record, but a sub 50-minute run is still possible. I've got just 2 more attempts. I'll get a fresh night of sleep and use run 11 as a warm-up before hopefully claiming a sub 50-minute run for my final attempt. On the 11th run of Christmas, Kyle gave to me. Okay, let's not even talk about run 11. I'm not sure why I didn't restart the run after finishing the first segment 19 seconds behind. The beginning part of this run is so RNG heavy and I was sick of resetting, so I just continued on when I finally got a decent attempt. The whole run was super sloppy though. I said this would be a warm-up run before the final attempt, but I didn't think it would go this poorly. At least I know now to take a few more minutes to wake up before attempting the final run. On the 12th run of Christmas, Kyle gave to me. This is it. The final run. The world record is far beyond my reach, but my own personal goal of a sub 50-minute run is where my sights are set on. Let's see how it goes. Fireworks were blasting in-game, but there was nothing to celebrate. Far from the town square, the clock ticked over to 50 minutes, signifying my failure. So, can you master a game in only 12 runs? No. So yeah, it turns out this speedrunning thing is a little bit harder than I thought. Even in the most dead of categories, the runners there put in the time and effort to be the best, and for that I applaud them. It's no easy feat. I was foolish to think I could just waltz in here and compete with people who've put in 10 times the amount of effort I did. I'm glad I took on this challenge though. I've never put this much effort into a speedrun before, so it was fun to study and practice strategies and actually see improvements with most of my runs. I may not have been able to claim a run during this 12 runs of Christmas, but next year I'm coming back faster, I'm coming back stronger, and I'm coming for a record.